Call to action.
Okay. All right. So basically what I want everybody to do is understand that there is a bill that was introduced and it's being heard today. It is Senate Bill 354. This would deregulate blow-dry styling in our industry.
Next bill we got today is Senator Larry Walker, Senate Bill 364. If you will please take the podium there, and 354. I'm sorry, 354. And you might be able to ask Leader Gooch's questions about the number of licenses, the time and energy you spend in the study committee this summer reviewing licenses. You may have a better grip on that than most of us.
Yes, sir. So we have 42 different licenses under the Secretary of State's Professional Standards and Licensing Board. And then we have other licenses housed in other agencies like the Composite Medical Board, the Nursing Board, other boards that have moved out from under the Secretary of State. So Georgia has one of the most onerous occupational licensing requirements in the state. I think we're 13th worst, in the nation. I saw some statistics saying we were 13th most onerous for occupational licensing. So that is what spurred the study committee that we had, the Senate study committee over the interim, to try to, break down some of these barriers to work. So we think Georgians need freedom and opportunity to work without government interference. The fairly recent Georgia Supreme Court ruling stating that the lactation specialist license requirement was unconstitutional also encouraged me to pursue the study committee and look at these licenses. And the court established that the state must have a compelling interest to establish a barrier to work, i.e. licensing. They have to prove that it is in the public's interest for public health, safety, and welfare. And it has to be a compelling interest in that area. Otherwise, it impedes on our freedom and our constitutional rights to work. So one of the first kind of the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, that came out of one of the recommendations out of the study committee was to look at some of the cosmetology licensing requirements, and was brought to our attention that there are some opportunities to carve out a couple of areas from cosmetology to encourage entrepreneurship and allow really honestly mostly women, but oftentimes low income women to start a career, possibly even start a business without the burden of having to go to cosmetology school and the costs associated with cosmetology school. The average cost in Georgia for cosmetology or beauty school is $17,569, and about 3/4 of the students do not graduate on time, is the information I've been given. Also, for a cosmetology or barber license in Georgia, you have to have 1,500 hours, 1,500 hours of training, which makes you more or less be an apprentice or an indentured servant, really, for the salon owner for those 1,500 hours. That, to just give you a point of reference, an EMT has to have 150 hours of field experience before they get licensed. The hair designer or barber too can get by with 1,350 hours, but still a ton of time. So what this bill does, we're trying to recognize some opportunities in that industry where we're seeing there's a company called Bar that has set up these styling salons, and it's real popular, I'm told, with wedding parties in particular, but where women mostly would go as a group and they get their hair shampooed and styled and get ready for the wedding or the rehearsal dinner and just have a good time. So that's a little mini industry that does not seem to, in my view, should not require a cosmetology license if that's all you're doing is shampooing and styling hair. And then the other one is makeup application. You could have, apply makeup, and there are already 2 carve outs in the code for makeup artists, and that's for the film industry and for people working in the retail, like at a Dillard's or a Macy's at the cosmetic counter. They're not required currently to have a makeup, a cosmetology license, but if they were to want to do that in a salon or do it as a standalone business, under current law, they would be required to have a cosmetology license. So what this bill does, and I'm happy to kind of go through the line items, but basically what it does is it carves out blow dry styling and makeup application from the current requirement of having a cosmetology license. Blow dry styling is the practice of washing, drying, and arranging hair. It does not include cutting, dyeing, or using other chemical processes to alter the structure of the hair. Makeup application is the practice of applying cosmetics to a person's face. So the bill provides new opportunities for aspiring beauty entrepreneurs and salon owners, specifically helps women, including single moms and those who do not have a higher education and who cannot afford the cost of going to beauty school. Another benefit is if somebody were to bring a lawsuit in Georgia, which they've done in Mississippi, and I've already referenced the lactation specialist lawsuit, it'd be something the state of Georgia would have to litigate and spend money litigating that, and might possibly, I think, lose that, and it's just a barrier to work. 13 states do not require makeup artists to be licensed, and 5 states exempt blow dry styling from cosmetology license requirements. Those 5 states are Arizona, Arkansas, Minnesota, Utah, and Virginia. The one size fits all approach to cosmetology license is outdated. There are a lot of great entry level opportunities to work in the beauty industry. Blow dry stylists, shampoo assistants, and makeup artists can earn a good living in these jobs. They can also start their own businesses without having to incur significant debt. Beauty schools do not dedicate much time teaching these services, but the benefit of our license requirement is, it gets them customers, of course, or students. I think cosmetology licensing requirements for this kind of work create needless barriers. And the beauty schools are really the primary beneficiaries of this requirement, and also the salon owners that are getting free labor or cheap labor while they're going through this 1,500 hours of field training. Mr. Chairman, do you want me to go through the bill or?
No, I have spent quite a few hours legally analyzing the details of this bill, and I think, let me see if I can summarize it. Right now, you got to have a cosmetology license if you're going to shampoo people's hair or blow dry it or put on makeup for them.
Correct.
And your bill eliminates the requirement for those 3 things only.
Couldn't have said it better, Mr. Chairman.
It took a lot of study for me to get a grasp of it, but it is important though. Lines 36 through 38, you make it clear that this does not reference when you're cutting out these blow drying people. That does not include an application of dyes, bleach, reactive chemicals, etc. So those things that sometimes you have customers that get their hair fried or whatever, these blow dry specialists aren't going to be able to apply all the dyes and whatnot, bleaches, right?
Correct.
Okay, so all they do is wash your hair, blow dry it, and put on makeup.
Style it, yes,
and
sir.
you cut the red tape of needing a license to do that.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions by committee members? Senator, again, it's not time for a motion yet. We got 5 people. I just want to make sure, I want to let you know, because I'm only asking for questions right now. I got to watch you because you're Chris.
It's time's a wasting, Coach.
All right, you ask your question then. Let's go.
That was a very great presentation, but do you know who the captain of the Hair Caucus is that's not here today on our committee?
I forgot who that was.
Mike Dugan's running for Congress. Not him.
Just wanted to know.
Was that it?
That was it.
All right. Any other serious questions before we all, Okay. Yes, I do have one. Senator Anderson.
No.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So eliminating a license for shampooing hair does not allow the person to recognize any skin diseases or any hair issues with their skin. So how would they know?
Senator, I don't think cosmetologists or physicians or dermatologists are trained to that level to recognize that. I think sort of common sense, if somebody's shampooing your hair and there's something pretty obviously wrong, surely that, they would point that out to you. And I think you have to kind of use common sense and have some sort of personal accountability on some of these issues too.
But if they had to have a license, then there would be no accountability. And sometimes for some
Personal
people,
accountability, meaning the client getting the shampoo. I mean, you can look at your
Okay.
scalp in the mirror, and people shampoo their hair at home generally. I don't see that as a compelling enough interest to put this kind of burden on sometimes disadvantaged women that are trying to make a way for themselves or possibly even start a business. This is a bipartisan bill. I had support from your caucus on it also. So
I'm just asking a question.
yes, ma'am. I'm just trying to
Mr.
answer
Chair.
your question.
Great. But
Thank you.
sometimes sense isn't common. So I made my comment.
All right. Are there further questions? Senator Dolezal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question. I wanted you to clarify for me the 1,500 hours that you're talking about. The case of Barber's cause. I forget exactly who you said that was. That's after they complete a multi-year program. After they pass their state boards, they then have to go, before they can work on their own, they then have to go for essentially a full year and serve under someone else. So I would just, is that correct?
My understanding is it would be after your coursework.
And before you pass the state boards. Regardless, I would encourage you to stick with this. I think this is a start. I think that it's actually it's embarrassing that we have that level of. I do know my wife owned a hair salon for a number of years, and you have to take currently in the state of Georgia, you may never intend to color hair. You may intend to only cut. A lot of salons now have you either cut or color. You don't do both. You have to go get trained in both. You have to get licensed in both, even though you have no interest in doing both. So I think this is a great start. But I love what you're doing. I think that would encourage you to stick with this, and let's remove these barriers to work for more Georgians.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to testify today. My name is Megan Forbes, and I'm a senior legislative counsel at the Institute for Justice. We are a nonprofit that works to protect civil liberties, including economic liberty. We support this bill because it will lift needless barriers to work in Georgia. The Institute for Justice has researched the burdens of occupational licensing for lower to middle income workers nationwide. Our research shows that in Georgia and across the country, some of the greatest licensing burdens are in the beauty industry. Following this research, we took a closer look at what these burdens look like, both in Georgia and around the country. We reviewed federal educational data related to cosmetology schools, and we found that cosmetology school is time-consuming, it's costly, and it causes many students to take on significant student loan debt that they struggle to pay back. The current system is a good deal for cosmetology schools that profit twice from students paying tuition and the schools offering student services to the paying public. But it's a bad deal for many students, especially for students who only want to provide safe and limited services like blow dry styling and makeup application. Georgia's required hours for cosmetology training far exceed the hours the state requires for many other occupations in the state, including those that directly relate to health and safety. As Senator Walker mentioned, EMTs receive 10 times less training than cosmetologists in the state, and chefs who prepare food that people ingest, and chefs and cooks are not licensed in the state. Many states now are recognizing these discrepancies and modernizing their cosmetology laws to make the system fairer for beauty professionals. And they're doing so by exempting safe services from licensing and also lowering the hours of training required, including creating limited licenses like a 500-hour license for hair cutting, like we heard earlier today, which we think is a great idea. The bill follows best practices from other states. Right now, as Senator Walker mentioned, 13 states fully exempt makeup application from licensure without issue, including regionally Florida and Mississippi. And many other states, including Georgia, exempt makeup application at retail locations where the risk to public health and safety is arguably the greatest, where lots of people are touching makeup products and putting different things in makeup products without much oversight. Additionally, 5 states also exempt blow dry styling from licensure. And again, we have no data showing that blow dry styling is any less safe in these states. We encourage the committee to support this bill. It will help people access jobs and keep people from having to take on needless student loan debt. It will also create new opportunities for entrepreneurship and economic growth. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Angela Mackey, Angel Hair and Beauty Studios.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Mackey, and I am the proud owner of Angel Hair and Beauty Studios. I've been a licensed cosmetologist for the past couple of years now, and I actually started out unlicensed. And I just wanted to speak to what someone would look like as an unlicensed participant, and how this would help me so much when I was younger, to just get started with my career and also just expand on starting to learn all of the things that I ended up learning in beauty school and working within them at that time frame. I also just wanted to speak to what I've seen as a cosmetologist in behind the chair, that the cost of inflation and how things are set up now, it's very expensive to go to cosmetology school. So with that being said, with how things are so expensive and cosmetology school being so expensive, how it can be a little tough to get started in the industry if you don't have that set aside. It's a little, and then also too, for people who are underserved in certain communities, they won't be able to have like access to work in these basically not providing chemical services. They could just provide blow dry services and shampoo services. So I just wanted to speak on that. I'm open for any questions also.
Any questions? Not, can you make the motion? We got 2 more hearers, speakers. Thank you for being with us today, and congratulations on your career.
Thank you.
Proud of you. Miss Priscilla Womble, Extension Blow Dry Bar. All right, Senator Ginn has a haircut he has to get to, but he might be back.
Be careful.
Maybe somebody else will get to make the motion on this. Go right ahead.
Thank you guys for having me. Again, my name is Priscilla Womble. I own Extension Blow Dry Bar. I'm not quite as big as Dry Bar, but to say, most of my staff, I would say I have a staff of 6. Five of them are licensed cosmetologists. One of my girls, she just finished school this last May, and it has been uh, a journey, just even getting her scheduled. Mind you, she's been done with her requirements, her 1,500 hours in May, but it took her about 4 months just to even get even the school to get coordinated with the Secretary of State or the licensing board just to get her scheduled for her test. So not only did she put in her 1,500 hours in her 9 months and spent her $17,000, she had to actually wait another 4 months just to even be able to take her test for her license. So it's not just, there are other obstacles as well. Yeah, I just believe that if you guys just find it, see it unnecessary for 1,500 hours to just shampoo and blow dry, I think we should go with it. I myself I have a lot of pride in my salon, and I would never allow someone who hasn't been trained by me. I have high integrity, and I would absolutely train them, make sure they have the proper sanitation skill set to recognize some of the potential risks in shampooing. I don't believe there is another salon owner who would intentionally allow that to happen under their watch. I know I wouldn't. And then there are also courses that we can take through third parties. If our main setback is sanitation, there are courses that we can take through third parties to make sure that our staff is skilled and knowledgeable about sanitation practice, safe sanitation practices. So with that being said, that I don't believe that we should have to be required to work or go to school for 1,500 hours to primarily combat the spread of diseases from shampooing and blow drying hair. I do believe that other salon owners like myself will make sure that those practices and even our salon is a safe place, because those types of things follow you. And like I said, I take pride in my salon, and I wouldn't let that happen under my watch.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come share with us today. This is invaluable to hear from people in the industry, how these bills impact you. Are there any questions from Ms. Womble? All right, thank you. I've got
Thank
one
you.
last speaker, Jacqueline Harn, and if I pronounce that right, okay.
And I will be brief, I promise. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide this testimony. As you mentioned, my name is Jacqueline Harn, and I'm the Coalition's Director for Americans for Prosperity, Georgia, and I'm here to speak in support of Senate Bill 354. At Americans for Prosperity, we believe in employment and labor policy that empowers people to earn success, contribute to their communities, and live meaningful lives. The dignity of work and the ability to pursue the profession of one's choice are keys to a thriving market. Sometimes our occupational licensure requirements create significant barriers to employment and needlessly stand in the way of people reaching their true potential. The license requirements for the beauty services bill or beauty services described in this bill unnecessarily make it more difficult for people to work and support their family. These services do not include cutting hair or using harsh chemicals. These services pose no safety risk to the public. If this bill becomes law, aspiring beauty services entrepreneurs, like we heard from just now, will be able to get to work quicker and save thousands of dollars and thousands of hours in unrelated education and work requirements. Consumers will have more choice for their beauty needs, and business owners a larger labor pool. For these reasons, I encourage you to vote for Senate Bill 354. Thank you.
Ms. Kay Kendrick, Cosmetology and Barber Board.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank y'all for letting me speak, and thank you to the chairman and to all the committee members. A lot of what you heard is not actually true, not actually factual. And with all due respect to the senator, you don't have to go after your school hours for 1,500 hours. That is your school hours. Cosmetology and barber teaches more than just how to wash and cut and blow dry hair. We teach people how to protect the consumers from the spread of contagious diseases. There are lots of documents of medical terminology, lots of documents of infection control and diseases, and I could have printed you off thousands and thousands of pages that you didn't want to read. I could have printed you off a bunch of pictures of dangers in the salons, of infections, in loss of limbs, in loss of health due to malpractice in the salons. Practice of cosmetology and barbering is designed to protect the consumers from the spread of contagious diseases and disorders, to teach our salon licensees how to use the tools properly, how to identify the chemicals they're using, how to identify disorders and dysfunctions in their scalp. And I want to read just one little small thing to you from a doctor in 2023 out of a healthsite.com. And she said, salon procedures put you at a risk by failing to comply with professional sanitation standards and protocol. The four most harmful organisms are bacteria, fungi, parasites, and viruses. The main ones in the salons that we see are warts, come from the papillomavirus. It's spread by contact hand to hand. Acne is a bacterial infection. It's not just a puberty issue. It is actually a fungus infection. Mollicusum contagiosum is a pox type infection, causes pain and fever. Herpes can be in many forms on the skin, in your hair, in many parts of your body. Folliculitis infectious is a hair follicle infection that goes straight to the bloodstream. Infantigo, bacterial infections, they're spread by clipper blades and dirty tools. Ringworm is a fungal infection. Viral bloodborne pathogens, including herpes B and C, HIV, hair lice, and chronic fungal diseases, MRSA. And we just came out of a big COVID, 2 years of COVID. And during the COVID, we were charged by the governor to look at our sanitation rules and to establish stronger guidelines to allow our salons to go back to work. Our salon owners were able to go back to work in 2 weeks because of the initiative that we took to make the standards for consumers to be safer. It is my knowledge, I do not know of anyone that has reported to our board or to anyone else that anyone got COVID from the salons in the state of Georgia. We were very thorough with our sanitation and our cleanliness. A couple of things about cosmetology and barbering. We learn about these funguses, but we also learn how to recognize other diseases. I cannot tell you how many times I refer clients to dermatologists to remove cancers on their skin. Clients can't see what's on the back of their head, and they can't see what's on the back of their neck or their ears. And it's very dangerous that they let these things continue to grow and go and can be very deadly to them. All of these diseases can cause death. MRSA is one of the most deadly things, and it's common in hair salons. You talk about the lack of danger. Danger of these infectious diseases are not just spread in salons where you do the chemical services, they're spread anywhere where you touch another human being. And we are the only profession other than the medical that touch another human being every day. We have over close to 94,000 licensees that we govern in this state. All of them went to school. All of them got their education, and they're all very proud of it. We have a great apprentice program, and most of our apprentices in our salons are paid an hourly minimum wage to work in these salons, and they can accept tips. By the time they're finished with their apprenticeship program, they can have a clientele and they can have their own business. I've been in business for 44 years. I've been a licensed professional for 45 of those years. And I am very proud of the fact that I have apprenticed 11 people that went on to open their own salons. My husband and I put 4 children through college with my money, with my education and my experience. And I was that mother. I was that single mother with 2 small children when I was in my early 20s, and I had to work at night. I had to work in a sewing factory in the day and go to school at night to get my license. It can be done. There are barriers, but one of the things that we really hear you, and we have tried for years to have some smaller niche licenses that will allow people to practice with lesser hours. We tried to introduce one last year and it got caught up in the niche bill. We've tried to introduce a hair removal bill that would be a 300-hour program that would allow women to go into these salons and get hair removed from different areas, everything except for laser, which comes under the medical. That is a dangerous thing when you're putting chemical wax on somebody's body and you're ripping it off and you're not using the right products. I'm on retention right now for an attorney in Atlanta where a woman got a two-inch laceration ripped on her body because someone used the wrong products. I'm also consulting with another attorney where a woman lost her big toe and part of the bone on her toe because someone did an improper pedicure where they were digging out ingrown toenails. These are the things that happen when someone's not trained and to do the right services and to be careful of the bacteria and infections. We do have one license that we're trying to introduce, and it would be a 500-hour license where people could wash, blow dry, style, and cut hair. And it's the apprenticeship program, and the school takes 5 months to 9 months. It is very fast, it's very easy, and it would protect consumers because they will learn the sanitation and how to identify the diseases that we carry.
Now, that
Closing,
that you just mentioned, are you saying you want to have that one?
I have a draft of
Bill,
it right here.
so it's not the law yet. Okay.
It's
go
not
ahead.
law yet.
Go
We have a bill that we've drafted along with Senator, and we have one in the House. And it will introduce a 500-hour course for hair removal, for hair styling. It'll be a non-chemical hairstylist. We also have one that we've introduced for the hair removal, which is 300, and we have one for makeup. And I know people say makeup is not a danger, but the chemicals that we use on people's face, double dipping their fingers, double dipping applicators inside a product that is unstable, has no lifespan on it that is labeled on the products, causes bacteria and funguses to grow within those products, and they're putting them on people after people after people. So there is a danger to that. And in reference to the movie theaters, most of the movie theaters today are requiring that their makeup artists be licensed. Few more things I'd like to tell you that are very dangerous in our industry, and I know my time is running short. One is anaphylactic shock. If you don't know how to counterbalance a product you put on somebody's hair, you can endanger their life. We are taught to balance the chemicals we use. The other is shampoo bowl stroke. And I know most people don't know anything about that, but what it is when you lay someone in the back sink and you lay their neck back and you put undue stress on the back of that artery, on a cast iron sink, you can cut off the oxygen and blood flow to the brain and cause someone to have a stroke. It's deadly. At the most, when they get up from the sink, they're confused, they're disoriented, and they stumble. If you don't know what's happening, you don't know how to help them, you can endanger their lives. I have seen it happen. I've seen anaphylactic shock almost take a girl's life out doing products at home, and I've seen a woman that had a stroke from laying her head back in the sink too long. I strongly ask you to reconsider this bill and let us try to do a better bill that would still protect the consumers at a lower cost and a lower number of hours. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Before you leave, we do have a couple of questions. Senator Dolezal, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the beginning. Could you tell us who you're with again and what it is?
I'm chairman of the Georgia Cosmetology Board, and I my board governs all of these licenses, and we deal with the infection problems, and we deal with the salons that are unlicensed that are endangering the people.
I appreciate all that you share with us, but I don't think you actually talked about what the bill does. You mentioned this hypothetical license that would include blow dry and shampooing and cutting, it being 500 hours, taking the cutting out, which is essentially what this bill does. Help me understand. He mentioned Dry Bar. There's a Dry Bar 20 minutes from my house. Why do the employees of Dry Bar need to be licensed by the state to do a sometime? Well, with all due respect, there's a lot of people that touch a lot of things that aren't licensed by the state.
The chemicals that we use even for washing and blow drying hair, like the straightening balms that we use for straightening hair has formaldehyde in it. Formaldehyde, when accelerated with a flat iron that's 500 degrees, can cause a chemical gas that can cause respiratory problems and cancers.
And that's not something that can be taught in a training process in the same way that people are cooking over 1,000-degree grill on a daily basis. They're touching things that touch people. I'm thinking about restaurants in particular.
Well, we teach them the chemical reactions,
I
yes.
could finish my question.
Sorry.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So you're opposed to this bill. I know you talked a lot about all the other stuff, but you believe that people should have to be licensed in the state of Georgia to give somebody a shampoo and comb their hair.
There's a misconception in that in the state of Georgia, if you're working in a salon under the supervision of a salon stylist, you can wash and comb hair. You don't have to have a license for that. We lost that license years ago. But as the representative said, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Senator, I'm sorry, Senator, by the time contagious diseases are identified and they get to our chair, it's too late. And most of these diseases you can't see viruses and funguses. And by the time you use the same tools on the same people over and over and over again every day, you're spreading those diseases to each person that sits in your chair.
I understand that. I would just submit to you that I can teach someone how to sanitize tools in about 2 days.
Yes, sir, you can, and I can too. But I also can, there are dangers to some of the disinfectants we use that are carcinogenics. But we teach them those things too. It's not just about the sanitation, it's about the safety of the products and the chemicals that we use and the electricity and everything combined
I
together.
think it's about standing up the continued industry of these schools that are charging $17,000. But I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? Thank you so much for being here with us. No, we have 4 other people that want a chance to. Senator Brass, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Chairman, you had mentioned loss of limbs
Mhm.
in a salon. Can you kind of walk me through one of those scenarios where someone lost their limb in a salon?
I can tell you a case where a woman got herpes of the eyes from a dirty wax spot and she was blind from herpes, lost her vision. I can tell you where a woman had skin ripped off from corner of the lip to this, and she was a free bleeder, and they had to do surgery to prevent it. I can tell you that a woman that lost her toe, that was on the news just recently here in Atlanta, was someone we're not podiatrists and we don't dig into healthy skin, but she dug an ingrown toenail out and the woman lost her toe. Those kind of things. I have podiatrists and doctors that will testify to fingertips, vision, toes, and MRSA on limbs that have disfigured people and caused damage.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you had just mentioned limbs and that
Mhm.
kind of got my attention.
I'm
So,
thinking feet, fingers.
okay. So digits,
Mhm.
digits, not limbs.
Well, I consider my foot a limb because I have to walk with that.
I understand. Okay. No further questions.
Got a bunch of us scared to death to even go into beauty.
I get-
We better hear from somebody in favor of this before we shut this industry down.
We need everybody to call their representatives and their senators and say, vote no for this bill, and let's stop it in its tracks. We need to flood the Capitol with phone calls and text messages and emails. And if you do not know who your senator is, we can help you find who it is and find the phone number.